Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Paladins Developer Q&A. Here today with me, I have Hi-Res Martini, lead designer for Paladins, and Hi-Res Chris,
Hello.
executive producer for Paladins. How are you guys doing today?
Amazing.
Awesome.
It's Friday.
I know,
Yeah.
right? Yay!
And we had like this weird week where we came to work and then we took off in the middle of the week and then we came back.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was
But we're
a
back
strange
now,
one.
and we're here hanging out with you guys.
Yes.
Excited to get into some awesome stuff.
So we wanted to do a Q&A because it's been a little bit since we had our last update showcase. And of course, next Thursday we have the 1.3 update showcase, but we wanted to take some time to hang out with you guys, answer any questions you have, and just very casual setting. So yesterday we took submissions for questions and we got over 500. So I don't know if we're going to be able to answer all 500, but we'll try our best.
I hope some of those were duplicated.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah. And we're also going to be taking questions from chat. Molly is off to the side, so she'll be grabbing any questions you have. Make sure to tag at Paladins Game so we're able to see it. All right, so let's jump right into it. The first question we have from Subatomic. We have seen that Realm Royale will be getting hitboxes tightened. Will Paladins be getting the same treatment soon?
So, yeah, that's a complicated one. I'm glad we started out with this one.
Yes.
So one of the reasons that Realm was able to do it so quickly is because all of their champions are basically the same size, and they have a basic rig that's very different than Paladins. Paladins, like Drogos, has some have a longer profile, some are short like Pip, and some are big like Fernando. So having the tight mesh basic hitbox is a lot more tricky in Paladins.
Right.
Could it be down? Yes, it could. But it's probably something that if we decide to see if we can do it, it would be a long, multi-month project.
Gotcha.
Also, it probably helps the pros be more pro and the casuals be less effective in Paladins. So we have to be really careful about that. Because, it's going to be harder to hit champions. It'll take more precise aiming. What else, Garrett? I don't know. What else can we say about that?
So the quintessential element of what kind of makes Paladins is like a very diverse and broad range of our cast, our crew, our characters. And we're permitted to do a lot of really cool stuff in terms of animations or abilities because of the way our current hitboxes are structured, because it's very consistent in that it's a decent amount of space that is around this character's mesh that you can shoot and register a hit, including headshots, including if you're using a projectile or instant fire. Now, if you go to a per mesh collision system, then you're afforded a lot more, a lot less. Characters like Maeve, characters like Willow, characters like Moji may not have even been made because they can't then have that same style of collision. It's not going to be as fair because they're very, very small.
Right.
So we would sacrifice breadth in how we create champions, and then all of our characters would look more generic. I mean, if you go look at all of your high competitive shooters that take to heart this kind of per mesh collision, they are fairly standardized in that it is a 6-foot anthropomorphic male or female with very similar qualities between all the different champions. And that's not a sacrifice we really wanted to make on our character development side.
Makes sense.
The other thing is there's a performance implication too.
Yes.
The server has to run all the animations for each character for this to work. And Paladins actually has the animation stripped out of the server side so that we could more optimize tick rate and ping and things like that. So that would be another consideration, that we would have to add that back to our server logic,
Right.
and make that sacrifice.
Yeah. All right. Are you planning to do reworks to any other champions? If yes, are they only in visuals or also in skills? This is asked by Jagerland.
Short answer is yes. Actually, I think we could probably just talk about Sky, right? We can just
What? Sky?
What?
Yeah. So
What is this?
in the near
What are these
future,
spoils?
in the near future, we will be giving Sky a visual rework that is going to bring her more in line with kind of our art style going forward. The art team, Thunderbrush, art director, has been doing a kick-ass job, and the new Sky is definitely true to what made Old Sky Sky, while still being like, oh yeah, that fits so much better.
It's very lore friendly as
yes.
well.
Yep.
All right, can you make skins from DC and Marvel like Androxus for Doctor Strange or Torvald Thanos?
I mean, if they wanna reach out to us,
Yeah.
and we can sign a couple NDAs and start talking about it, I'm all up for it.
Yeah, there is copyright, so we're not able to just take ideas like that. But we definitely have certain influence, I think, over skins. We take inspiration from other things.
Sure.
So.
That's usually the easiest.
Yeah, so we don't get sued. When will you fix the matchmaking, or do you have a way to do better matchmaking? This is asked by Sunix.
Oh, him and like what, 1,000 other people?
Yeah, him and the
Just a
other
few.
458 questions.
Yeah. So matchmaking, it's always a topic of conversation in Paladins, Smite, no matter what game that we're making. Can we make it better? So the short answer is we have a new algorithm that we're testing out. Smite has it running in their casual conquest and casual ranked conquest. And we're gathering data about like the performance of that and how it's faring against the old algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And in Paladins, we're running it actually in the casual siege queue.
Oh, okay.
So the trick about matchmaking is it's kind of an intersection between the population, time of day, how long you make our players wait to get a match. All of those things kind of come together and form what teams are being made at any given time. So the other thing is it's not just code. It's not like, hey, just create a better algorithm. That's not necessarily the case. We have a really, really solid algorithm. It's, we originally took it from True Skill. That was, I believe, Microsoft had started that white paper. But we've modified it over time, over the last 10 years. We've actually rewritten it with this new algorithm, taken some things that we learned from the old one and added some new ideas to it. But all that said, it's not just like plug in the code and everything's better. It's plug in the code and then tweak the 1,000 variables that it takes to tune it. And that's kind of where we're at today, is tuning this new algorithm.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be better than the old one. Maybe it won't. We still haven't really determined that. It does better at certain things and it does worse at some other things. So we have to determine if those trade-offs are good enough for each game that we're using it on.
Right.
That being said, if the population has a big factor to it, so if you're playing late at night in Australia, you're probably going to have worse matchmaking than if you're playing in North America at 7 p.m. So also the big, there's a concern, or not a concern, but a tricky situation with very high elo players and very low elo players. So when you have a bell curve distribution, the middle of the bell curve is the easiest to create matches for. But when you start getting to the outer edges of the bell curves, it's always going to be super tricky. So that's when we have to really start tweaking variables like, well, if we have high elo players in the queue, then, hey, hold them over, make them wait, so that maybe other high elo players will get into the queue and we can match against them.
But not too long. You don't want them to wait too long.
Right. If you wait too long, you got streamers out there. A lot of them are very high elo players.
Yeah.
If they wait too long, they're just going to get bored and quit, which isn't good for matchmaking either. So there's all these different variables. It's a super, super tricky technical problem to solve. And it's something that isn't just something that we work on once a year. We have a team that works on this constantly. So I don't know. That wasn't a very well-rehearsed answer to this question.
Well, I mean,
but,
there's a lot of information. So, I mean,
yeah.
that is being tested in the live environment right now.
Right. So one thing I can say about Paladins is we are going to probably turn on the new algorithm on our ranked queue in 1.3, which is the next patch. We feel comfortable enough with the data that we've gotten from the casual queue to see how the ranked queue will handle the new algorithm. And that one will be trickier because we have really poor players in that queue. We have very high elo players that play in that queue, and the population is lower than casual.
Right.
So we might find that it performs great, or it might perform bad and we tweak some parameters, then it starts to do great. Or we say, no, the old algorithm was just better. And over time, we've started gathering a lot more metrics that we can look at to see why matchmaking potentially is in a bad state or a good state. So I don't know. Does that answer the question?
I think so. There's a lot of information, so
There's
lots
also
of factors.
So perspective is also a really important part of this equation. And just after doing this for so many years, a really interesting exercise that I like to do is if you go and you have a gripe with a particular title, if it's Paladins, if it's Smite, if it's any other competitive game across, really all you have to do, go to your search browser, type in the title of your game, and then the word bad, or don't even type the word bad at all, and then the word matchmaking. This is not a problem exclusive to any of our IPs or our title. This is a challenge that video game developers are facing universally, like
especially team-based.
Team-based.
Team-based is the most difficult matchmaking
yes.
because it's not just one person against another person. When you have a 1v1 like StarCraft or something like that, it's much easier to do matchmaking. One is you only have to match one person per team. So if you have 30 people in the queue, you're going to have potentially a good match.
Right.
If you have 30 people in the queue and you're doing a team-based game, you don't have that many different variations of the team makeups to get the optimum match.
Yeah.
And it's by no means a cop-out by us by saying, oh, everyone is struggling with this, we're just going to phone it in. It's like Chris was mentioning, we have allocated a lot of resources and time and are not stopping. We have no intention of stopping. All the games we make are mostly team-based competitive games, so it's something we care a lot about.
And the good thing about, and this is not just high-res specifically, but we have a matchmaking algorithm that can be used in multiple games. Well, that actually gives us a lot of leverage where if Smite finds that there's something that works in their matchmaking, it might work in Paladins too, and we can try it there. So having multiple games using our matchmaking algorithm really helps tune it and keep basically a group of people working on it full time.
All right, here's a question from Twitch chat. Let's see, what was the champion that you had the most trouble balancing? This is from Dwagoon.
Oh goodness. So in Paladins specifically, frontlines are usually notoriously the ones that are the most troublesome. Whether it's actual performance or perception of performance or perception at a really specific skill range. So oftentimes, even in drafts, if you follow the pro scene, for a long time, and even now, frontlines are usually candidates for first man, first pick, to the point. But historically, generally, it's the ones with the most polarizing aspects of their kit. The ones that come to mind initially are Terminus, Torvald, and Makoa, for different reasons. Actually, Terminus and Torvald, for similar reasons, because they're very polarizing. Formerly, Torvald could only influence things within a very small sphere around himself, and also had all the attributes of being extremely resilient, tanky. Terminus is a similar way. He has an infallible defense that's tied to a permanently regenerating resource, along with infinite ammo and decent spike damage in a circle around him. These attributes are difficult to make enjoyable in a shooter, while at the same time balancing in a shooter. Makoa, on the other hand, is a character that has a very high skill, or not even really skill ceiling, because historically the hook hasn't necessarily always been exceptionally hard to hit. However, he has a very high coordination ceiling, meaning that if you have 4 other people that you are like vibing with, like 1-to-1, and you get a hook, whoever you're hooking is probably going to die. And in a pro scene where these guys are sweating for hours and hours and hours and getting all of their strats down to like a very specific subset of actions in a very discrete amount of time, then Mako is a hugely powerful tool. Problem is, that's not that's the other 99.99999% of your players, which we're talking tens of millions of players, don't have that level of coordination. And then oftentimes, typically, then you're left with a character that underperforms in every audience except for the games that are the most watched and viewed. So then you're presented with a challenge of, okay, how do I make this character better for both populaces? And the core fundamentals of Frontlines that makes them so hard is that we have to have this character be resilient because of the way they perform their role in the game we've built, while at the same time, they can't not affect the battlefield as similarly rolled characters in different genres of games because we are a shooter. Like in your MOBAs, right? It's fairly known that you're not going to have a frontline like turn the corner, fire off a couple attacks, and then body someone and kill them. Because yeah, it's like, okay, that's a tank. Like they've itemized really well and they're super tanky, right? And it's like they throw a spear or they do a range attack and it's like dink dink off of whoever they're attacking health. But they're a juggernaut and you can't bring them down with one person. In Paladins, if any of our front lines had like 100 DPS, which is more of the scale that the MOBAs have, then it would feel absolutely terrible. So it's this fine balance of how tanky does the front line in a shooter need to be versus how good how fun do we want them to be to play. But I mean, some of our front lines are very widely played. They're some of our most loved characters. So we've kind of isolated down some very good formulaic things that we stick to these fundamentals going forward, and we're going to be A-okay.
All right, from Mixer Chat, plus Penguin8623 asks, what was the first champion that you guys made?
Oh gosh, specifically us? Who was the first champion that you shipped when you came out of the project? Was it Khan?
It was Khan, yeah.
Khan. The first champion that I was responsible for the design was Kinessa,
wow.
followed by Drogo's, and I forgot the order afterwards.
Yeah.
But that was a while ago. That was a while ago, guys.
The first one I worked on, I was on the project for, was Makoa. That was the first one I shipped. So Makoa holds like a special place in my heart.
Yep.
All right. Next question. Will you ever have fan-designed champions or let fans vote for champions? This is asked by San920.
Oh, man. We are, like, our studio works so closely with the community. We are vibing on whatever, like every time a fan art gets posted, everyone's like, oh, you see this fan art? Every time like someone has an idea for champions or abilities, we're always looking at it. If you're talking about kind of structuring some kind of submission process for a champion, I don't think we've ever done anything like that in the past on any of our games, and it's not something developers, to my knowledge, really do. However, being influenced by your community is something that I think any developer is comfortable with.
And we've done that a lot for skins. I mean, some of the skins we've released started out as champion or as fan art. And one of the champions we have later this year, I have seen some of their kit abilities in different fan concepts before. So not to go into too many details, but it's similar. All right. Also, how many artists typically work on creating a champion?
So many artists. Very few people, guys, actually know how much work goes into, like, making anything in video games takes so much time and so much work.
And talent.
And you have people that are grinding and sweating and bleeding to get these things done.
I'll come in on the weekends, like, to grab something that I forgot, and the artists are still there.
They're just there. Yeah. How many? I mean, how many teams?
Well, okay, so we have the rigging department.
Yep.
And so there's usually 1 or 2 people that are working on a new champion in that department. So let's just call that 2. We have the weapons artist. So usually that's just one.
Yep,
one person working on the weapon. So that's 3. We have a modeler, which could be multiple people, but it's typically, let's just call it 1.
Yep.
So that's 4. We have multiple animators. I would say there's probably 4 animators that would be assigned to different aspects of the character.
Yep.
So that's 8. We have one or two designers, although all the designers are really kind of have impact on the champion, right?
Yeah.
So let's just call it 2.
Yep.
So we're at 10. We have the programmers, the game programmers. So there's at least 1, but usually there's 2 assigned to a champion.
And there's the
There's usually 1 primary one and then 1 person that's helping out. So that's 12 now. We have UI requirements, either 2D art that has to be done for the cards. We have
It's another 3 or 4 people.
we have
right
2D
there.
art if we have some HUD element that's
Right.
specific to the champion. I don't know. Let's just say like 15 to 20 people.
that
Yeah.
are purely responsible for it.
Yeah.
But really, because creating these characters is collaborative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Chris mentioned earlier, like we may go in with one designer being responsible for it, but we take 10 people right into a
Yep.
play test.
Yep.
Those
Yeah,
other-
we even talked about the QA side of it.
Yeah,
And
like
we
Oh,
have
yeah.
almost all the QAs are involved. Although I think they split it up like, hey, this QA is responsible for these abilities, and and so on and so forth.
I would guess probably the majority of our Paladins team as a whole has some amount of influence on a champion somewhere along the pipeline, whether it's feedback, whether it's opinion. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into these things, guys.
Yep.
If you're interested about the specifics of it, you can go and watch some of the behind the scenes videos we've done. And again, that's a very snapshot take, kind of, at like what's it like to build things in video
Yeah.
games.
Yep.
But it's a huge process, and it's one that we love doing.
All right, let's speed up the questions
Okay,
because
yeah.
we're not going to
Talking
get
too
through
much.
many
Speed
of
it
them
up.
if we keep
All right.
answering
Oh
for
gosh,
20
yeah,
minutes.
we've already been
Yeah.
talking for 20 minutes. Okay, how long till all the loading screen splash arts are complete?
I would say this year, but every patch we're adding, 5 to 10 to 15 new splash arts. Obviously, any new content's automatically going to have the splash art, but as we're still working through the backlog, every patch we should see improvements.
Awesome. Any new skins planned for Moji?
Yes.
Yes.
As
Hold
long-
it, Moji.
It's not.
It's not this patch,
this
right?
patch. It's the following patch.
The following patch. So summer.
I got you.
Okay.
And it's pretty.
And
sick.
it's
Savage.
awesome. It's awesome.
As a longtime player, I'm curious if you will ever put a use for gold into the game. I'm aware that you can buy alternate skins, but I have all of them at this point, and I'm sitting on 3 million plus gold.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Please add
Make it
some
rain.
uses for this currency.
So this patch in 1.3, we have 2 new things coming out that will be gold sinks. Do we not? We don't want to spoil the actual mechanic that we're doing, do we? I don't
think
remember.
we can.
So, go ahead. And
Yeah.
Talk about it.
So in 1.3, we will be shipping a kind of. Actually, I don't even have to talk about the feature. I can just tell you that you're going to be able to pull or bring into a match multiple sprays and multiple emotes, and that you can purchase increasing amounts of these sprays and emotes to bring in via gold as a gold sync functionality, along with the
Announcer
packs,
packs.
right.
So we have like 6 or 7 new announcer packs coming in 1.3, and they're all language specific. So we'll have a Spanish one. We will have I don't even know what, Russian,
German.
French, German, Portuguese, maybe. I can't remember all of the different ones. But anyway, each of those will be only for gold. They're not for crystals. So
That's
it's
awesome.
something to spend your gold on.
All right. When is Paladins coming free to play on Switch? So this will be later this summer, and maybe sooner than you'd think.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Yeah, very soon.
Yep.
Can we get any new info on the champion you guys are hinting at? We know that he is affiliated with Zen.
I mean, we've given you his
Yeah.
name. I can confirm that we've given you his name through the teasers.
His name, a few voice lines. We know was affiliated with 1,000 Hands.
He does a lot of sit-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, his abs.
Dude, they are insane.
They're hot.
I gotta get his workout routine.
I didn't say it. Larson did. So.
Yeah.
All right. What has been the most wonderful experience that has come from working on this game?
Oh man.
I know I had to add that one. That was such a sweet question.
Aw.
Well, I know mine.
Go ahead.
I'll
with
try to be
yours.
discreet with it. So when we first were demoing Paladins, like really old Paladins at TwitchCon, like years ago, we sponsored the TwitchCon after party, and Deadmau5 was playing at our show, right? Really, it's TwitchCon show, but it was cool because on the big like poster board outside of the big music concert hall. It was like TwitchCon after party sponsored by Hi-Rez, and there's a big tag across it that was like sold out.
Oh.
And there's like thousands of people waiting in line. We were just like, let me just go in the side door. And then it was just like we were like on the second balcony. Like I remember sitting with Rory, who back at the time was the lead designer, and we're just listening to Deadmau5 spin. And then there's like all these stations of people playing Paladins on the side, and I was like, oh, okay, well I guess this is it. We made it, guys.
Yeah.
We made it. That was like 2 years ago, but.
I'll be quick. I think that my favorite thing so far on Paladins has been working on the Switch and seeing how we can get the game and the core essence of Paladins on a small screen. So I love the Switch. I've been playing it at home. It's actually the only console that's pulled me from PC.
Yeah.
Is it
probably just because it's just convenience. I can walk to the other room or whatever.
And getting to work with Nintendo. I mean, that's
yeah,
awesome.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then secondly is just working with people that I haven't worked with necessarily at Hi-Rez. And I learned that there was a lot of talented people in the Paladins development team.
Yes,
so,
there is.
Yeah.
Our team is amazing.
All right. Will you be making more events like Rise of Fury, Ascension Peak, etc., in which you give players more rewards, more challenges, and more variety in the game?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. One in
Yes.
development right
Big
now?
yes. Capital yes. YES.
Yeah, I think someone asked about what is our development priorities, and I think obviously creating new experiences in Paladins is a priority. Cleaning up, obviously, years worth of bugs that have just accumulated, that's a priority. Improving the overall game experience for Paladins is a priority. So that could mean like adding gyro aiming to Switch, or adding or improving the aiming capabilities on console, improving the UI for everyone. There's all kinds of different priorities that we have, but those are probably like the major ones. So, improving the gameplay, improving the product, making it less buggy. Obviously, matchmaking is part of that, and all of the things. Champion development still a priority. Map development. I think we should talk about the map stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
goodness,
we
yes.
have
well,
some-
there's a whole bunch of things that we should be, and we don't have much time.
We
left.
don't have much time.
So let's just let's go through some of
Roll the
those.
footage.
We're gonna unmerge Onslaught and TDM.
Highly requested.
Highly requested. There were good reasons to merge them back at the beginning of the year. One is we felt like it would improve the matchmaking quality for some lower populations and some of the platforms that were suffering. But since then, Paladins has been every month has had more and more players joining us, more and more players sticking around. So we feel like we're in a good spot where we can bring back basically those queues as separate.
With a multi-queue option too.
Right, and it's going to be multi-queued, so we'll have basically a casual and ranked. And if you click on casual, you'll queue for all the casual, Siege, Onslaught, and TDM. But if you don't like that, you can customize it. You can say, well, I don't really like to play Siege, but I like the other two, or I only like Onslaught and Siege, I don't like TDM. It's totally up to you. So that's coming in 1.3, which is this month. We have a new map coming with actually new gameplay mechanics too.
Yes,
and
we do.
we've got some images to show you guys for the new map.
So maybe
that's
production
coming.
can put those up.
Boom. So this is a TDM map. You may recognize some of the pieces and theming and style from the Rise of Furia Tower, but brand new with this TDM layout is going to be the introduction of jump pads into the realm, which you might be able to pick up and see. There's the little circular things with these purple up arrows. And at the same time, too, we are bringing buffs into... so there's a jump pad right there. Use it to transcend levels.
That's a lot of fun.
Characters that normally don't bounce up can bounce up. It's oh god, the ambience in here is so creepy and cool. Just like this fortress in the abyss. Hell yeah, art team. The other one about the buffs. So there are buffs that will periodically spawn around these around the map on semi points of interest. Nowhere near like the level of a capture point. But when this buff spawns, you're going to recognize it because it's the same buff style from the Rise of Furia tower climb. And just as in the Rise of Furia event, they will give you ult charge, except instead of being 7% when you picked it up there, picking up a buff like that you see right on your screen right now will give you full ult charge. So it's definitely something you want to fight over.
Yeah. Also, we're going to ship a new custom map for 1.3.
That is correct. That is
so
correct.
we're going to take the Rise of Furia, the top portion of it, and we're going to make that available to queue with your friends.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
It's a
You
TDM
can use it
map.
for 1v1s or however you please. It won't be
Right.
in the main rotation, but if you want to mess around with it on custom, by all means, go ahead.
Yep.
And I think we've got a teaser for one of the skins that's coming in the next patch,
Oh,
too.
yeah. All right, let's show that.
Yeah.
Who could that be? Is that
I see a
wonder.
snake.
is it a snake?
I think
Or is it
so.
just like
I
a
don't know.
hand drag that's
Hand drag?
billowing in the wind?
Yeah.
Just use it as a whip.
That's cool.
All right. So that's about it. I do have one last question, though. Are there any characters that identify as LGBTQ?
There are. Representation is very important to the Paladins team.
Who
And
asked this question?
I did.
Oh, okay, never mind.
No, someone
It's a
did
hidden
ask,
agenda.
but-
No, this may come as kind of a shocker to our audience, but dun dun dun, Fernando is actually a gay character
Really?
in our line of
So
cast.
now it is canon. A lot of people have asked.
Yes.
Now you know.
I don't.
Let the fan art commence.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Next Thursday is going to be the 1.3 update showcase. Sorry we couldn't get through all the questions. There were a ton, but we're also doing a Q&A on the Paladins forum, so feel free to drop any questions on there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you all in the realm.